Hello everybody, welcome to my 2002 Yamaha Roadstar 1600 build. This is the condition that I got the bike in. As you can see, it's pretty bad shape. It was actually in a house fire, and this is all that's left of it. It needs a lot of work, as you can see. We've got, I guess starting at the front, fender's gone, brake calipers were ruined, the wheels are charred. Tire looks to be in decent condition, but to be completely honest, I will never in my life ride a motorcycle that has tires that's been through a house fire. So that's getting replaced, even though it looks like it's okay. Still going to be replacing that tire. Coming up here, you can see, again, more of all the soot and everything that was deposited on it during the fire. Down here, we got the floorboard burnt through and ruined it. Of course, the front horn, as you can see there, is just completely demolished. I don't even think that most of it's there anymore. Probably just melted away and burned up in the fire. The wiring, you can see, is just charred to a crisp. I know you might actually be able to hear it crunching. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but so that's what we got. We got a lot of soot and stuff on the engine itself. It's all going to have to be torn down and dealt with. Here's more wiring. And just completely charred and ruined. I'm going to need a brand new wiring harness for sure. There's one of the battery cables. That's what's left of it anyways. So, coming on down here, here's my other horn. As again, you can see, it's gone. There's nothing really left of it. Pulley looks to be in good condition, needs to be cleaned up. The belt, to me, same principle as the tires. Looks like it's in good condition, but I would never trust a belt that's been through a house fire. So somehow, this is what's miraculous, is somehow this is not just completely destroyed. This is just a plastic piece. It did get a little hot and bent up, like right here you can see. But I'm really surprised that this is just not one big lump of melted plastic. So rear tire is flat, needs replacing. I don't know what the guy, I don't know if the guy started on doing this or what, but I mean, like, the spacers are gone, and surely the spacers didn't just melt in the fire. So I think this guy started pulling it apart before he sold it to me. Rear pulley is missing. Again, brake disc, caliper, that's all gone. This is all stuff that the guy, I don't know what condition the motorcycle was in whenever it went through the fire, if it was already apart like this, or if this is since the fire that the guy started taking it apart and then just realized this is just too big of a job for him. So, coming on over here, here's my oil cap. What's left of it. See if I can even get this thing open. Oh, hey, look, it turns. Sweet. Now, he told me. Get this undone. He told me that he's still got oil in it. I don't really see anything on there, but obviously before I start pulling apart the motor and stuff, I'm going to drain it just to be safe. Don't want to crack open the motor and have oil go everywhere. Speaking of oil, here's my completely custom oil pressure gauge. It's completely custom because nobody else has one like it, because it's cool that way. Because it's completely charred to a crisp, so that's going to need replaced. Intake manifolds. Those of you guys that know Roadstars, you know that it's a little rubber T manifold. Imagine that got melted in the fire. Little breather tubes are gone, but the little inlets for them seem to be in good shape, so I should be able to just clean those up. And again, a lot of soot on this thing, a lot of just nasty bit. So, and of course exhaust's all gone, but so this is my Roadstar. I've dreamed about having a Roadstar 1600 for years. My dad had one, and he loved it. Let me ride it a few times. I absolutely loved that. So I promised myself I'd get one, and I got one. Well, I mean, most of one anyway. So, as you can see, no floorboard on this side. Of course, no pegs, no rear. There's supposed to be, those of you guys that know Roadstars already know that there's a frame right here that bolts in, and that's where the passenger seat rests on, as well as your rear fender. The kickstand, springs, and everything like that are all messed up on it, as is the sensor. I don't know if I'll be able to see it or not. You can see the sensor down in there. It's all burned up and melted. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I think I'm actually going to get started today here in a little bit. I'm just going to go through and do little stuff here and there. Like pull off this battery cable. This is going to be gone first thing. The wires over here, they're charred, but I think they actually go into the different sensors and everything for the motor, so I'm not going to be able to replace those until I get their motor out. So yeah, I'm going to pull the wiring off of it, all the burnt up wiring and stuff, and then get ready and pull the transmission and pull the motor and go from there. I'm going to have to make sure that the motor's in good condition internally. Hopefully, it's not probable, but it is possible that all the valves were closed during the fire. So I'll be getting a bore scope and checking that out. But this is what I'm starting with. So I will fill you guys back in next time I work on it. Hey everyone, so real quick, just thought I'd give you an update. It's still day one on the teardown, just a couple minutes into it, and I thought I'd just kind of share some of the condition of these things. Here's a little closer look at the floorboard. Completely rusted, burned through the rubber, even rusted the metal underneath it. You can see underneath it, it's all charred up pretty good. So next we'll go with this. This was the crankcase breather tube. I mean, this thing it's burnt to crisp, especially down here. I mean, that thing is. Let's see if I can get it to focus a little better. Yeah. I mean, it's just completely melted shut, and it looks like it even kind of was dripping a little bit, just kind of I can't really get it to focus better, sorry. It looks like it got so hot that it was actually melting and dripping onto the floor wherever it was at when it burned. Which actually leads me, I did find one piece that I think I might deem reusable out of what I've pulled off so far, and that's this little guy. He seems to be in okay condition. He's still got some spring in him, so I might reuse that. Other than that, the rest of this is trash. Here we have my side stand indicator switch. It's got a little bit of spring to it, but you can see, why isn't this focusing right? There we go. It was burned up pretty good. It's like any electronics that have gone through a fire are just toast. There's no way around it. So yes, it still has a little bit of spring. I'm not even going to waste my time to check to see if the internals are still working, if the switch inside is still working. I'm not even going to waste my time with that, because even if it is, it's still toast. It's just bad. This is my favorite little bit right here. This is what's left of the horns. I did a shot of them earlier, but it was kind of hard to see with them still on the bike. This one, we'll start with this one because it's not as bad. This one still kind of retained its shape a little bit. Very little bit. And then this one, oops. This one, I almost find this comical, how much it melted down. I mean, you can really tell where the fire was at, because it was a lot closer to this one. And this stuff right here, these bits, this is actually the pieces of the horn. Well, this is zip tie, but these are actually pieces of the horn that I had to use a hammer and a chisel to chisel off of this nut right here, this bolt, so that way I could get the horn off, because it was all this was melted down over the top of this, and I had to take a hammer and a chisel to chisel off the plastic there to get that to come off. I mean, it's awesome. So just a real quick update on that, and let me get back to it. Next thing to be coming off is the rest of the floorboard bracket right there, as well as the shifter. I already got the shift linkage off, got it up there. Got off one of the motor mounts up here, getting ready to pull the motor. Hopefully the next day or two we'll be pulling the motor. I'm not sure if I want to keep this or not, or if I just want to, just the lever. I don't know if I want to keep this or not, or if I just want to do with like a completely custom setup with all of it right here. I know I want a heel toe shifter because I absolutely love heel toe shifters. But I haven't decided if I want to keep this yet. So next I'm going to pull this off, and then I'm also going to pull off the valve covers on the top here, kind of get a glance at what's going on there. And then I'm going to start it on this side. What I want to do is tear down the heads kind of as far as I can, with it still in the bike. I want to take the tubes out, the push rods out, take off the cam cover, all of this. I want the motor and transmission and everything to be as light as possible for whenever I pull it out. So I'm going to see how much of the motor I can tear down with it still in the bike. Speaking of tear down, there is one thing. The guy that, again, I don't know if it went through the fire in this condition, or like if the guy was in the process of tearing it down when it went through the fire, or if it went through the fire and then the guy that had it started tearing it down before he sold it to me and just decided to stop. But he did. The starter is off of it. I realized that when I was taking off the horn yesterday. I really, really, really hope that that starter was on while it went through the fire and they just pulled it off after. Because if it was off when it went through the fire, I'm gonna have to tear it down the motor a lot farther than I wanted to. I'll still do it. I mean, I'd rather make sure that I have good internals than, try and cut corners. That's not what I'm about. I don't cut corners, that's for sure. So just want to give you guys that update about my little burnt offering there. So there you go. See you in a second. Well, that just sucks. So I was working on taking off some of these bolts that are all Allen head and Yamaha. But does anybody know if Snap-on does a lifetime warranty on their tools? Because as you can see, I snapped off the head of that clean. There's another one. So that is what it's supposed to look like and what it does look like. There it is. I found the head. Boom. Just like that. I mean, this thing was, as you can see, it's nice and twisted as well. I'm just really glad that it broke the way that it did. It's good. It's clean break. I can still use it as a regular Allen. I just can't use it as the pivot on it anymore. But if Snap-on does a lifetime warranty on their parts, then by all means I am going to find myself a Snap-on dealer and get this replaced. So that thing just sheared just right off of that. So, all right, back to work. All right, everybody, end of day one. Got a little bit farther than I was expecting to, but not by much. So here's where I'm at. Okay, so I was able to pull the valve covers off and see all my bolts sticking up in there. All the way down to the rocker arms. I wasn't planning on pulling the push rod tubes today, but with everything being all gunked up and seized, not that the engine is seized, but all the connections and stuff are really hard to take apart and stuff. They kind of came with it whenever I pulled off the rocker arms. So I wasn't planning on this, but that one's okay. Let me get this other one. This other one's there we go. So this is one of my push rods for the valves. I don't know if you can tell real well, but there's definitely some, I can't tell if it's rusted because of soot or because of lack of maintenance or what, but either way, I'm gonna be getting some new push rods now. Again, wasn't really planning on it, but hey, I would much rather do that than put this thing back in there. And I'd much rather inspect it now than have this thing fail on me down the road and cause devastation. There you go. You can see the discoloration a little bit better right here. So, push rods, and then these guys, I figured I plan on putting a new cam in it, and so figured I might as well see about getting some maybe some roller lifters or something a little bit better. I mean, this is the cam surface is what pushes right here, and then it actuates and lifts up the push rod and actuates the valves and everything like that. So to me, that's surely there's got to be some aftermarket lifters that are a little bit better than that completely flat. See if I can focus on this. This phone's not very good at focusing. There we go. Surely there's got to be something aftermarket that's better. So I'll be getting those too. So that's a few things unexpected that I wasn't planning on changing out, but going to. As you can see, I got the front and the rear cylinder done. Got the cam cover pulled. It's almost time for me to start getting ready for work, so I didn't want to go ahead and pull the cams now. Just leave them in there for now. They're not going anywhere. Nothing. It's not going to get hurt or anything. Up here we can see where my cam's down in there, where my tubes were. So I keep those covered up. I don't want to get any junk down in there. And speaking of junk down in there, made a little discovery today when I was working on this front cylinder. Let me see if I can. Sweet. Alright, so there's my intake valve. So all that corrosion and everything like that, that tells me that chances are the intake manifold was probably off during the fire. And there is no way that I would ever want something like that on a motorcycle that I had worked on and say it's okay to run down the road. So that means I get to do a top end rebuild. Whoop whoop. Wasn't really planning on it. Had kind of mixed feelings about it. Let me see if I can get the other intake. Kind of had mixed feelings about doing a top end rebuild. I kind of didn't want to just because of money and time, but at the same time I kind of wanted to just because I want this thing to be as awesome as possible when I'm done with it. So, so yeah, I'm going to be doing some top end rebuild on it. I'm really hoping that I won't have to split the cases to look at anything or to check anything in it. I do want to get everything all cleaned up and sandblasted down, and either repainted or powder coated black. Oh, and I got the oil return tube taken off. It's over here. Where did I put that thing? Oh, right down here. My oil return tube seems to be in pretty good shape. The get this thing to focus. There we go. Surfaces all seem to be in pretty good shape. I can't really tell that there's any gunk or anything like that in it. So just kind of needs cleaned up. Obviously you can see it's got soot and everything all over it. So that's going to get cleaned up and put back on. But pretty happy with where I got today. You know, only had about an hour and a half to work on it before I have to stop and get ready for work. Tomorrow I'm hoping to drain the oil and take off the oil tank and the transmission and everything like this, get this all taken care of, and then hopefully Thursday, maybe Friday, which today's Tuesday, hopefully get the engine out by then, get that on a stand, and I can start taking them. Once I get the engine out, I'm going to start taking off my suspension setup, my swing arm, forks, and all that stuff. Start taking all that off and get this down to the bare frame. So that way I can send it off to be sandblasted and powder coated again. So yeah, that's where I'm at day one. Hopefully see you guys tomorrow.